Okay, so now we're going to talk about standardization. So, standardization is a really big part of lean, um, and I know that it's one of the steps in 5S, but it has a larger place and everything. So basically, what it means is just documenting all of your processes. Um, you want to remove what they call tribal knowledge. I'm sure everybody's been on a job where they show up for the first day. Maybe you're a day player and you're kind of just trying to figure things out, and they walk you through all the carts and they're like, oh well, this light only goes in here a very specific way, and like when we use this, we always use this, and um, you're just like trying to figure out where everything goes, and you basically want to get rid of all of that tribal knowledge. You want to make it so that no explanation is really needed for much of anything. Um, and maybe that even means that you have a standard process for bringing day players up to speed. It could be something as simple as that, where you just have a document or something that you give them. Um, Obviously that's TV show, something that's ongoing. But so when you're making these processes, you want to be sure that you're building quality into the process itself. Um, so that just means like you want to rid yourself of double checking things. Anytime you're having to double check something, it's really just waste. Um, so what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, well, okay, how can you make it so you don't have to double check your work? Because if you're double checking your work, that means that your original process is not very good. So how can you change your original process so that there are no defects, and so that there's no way that anything can slip by you that first time around? So that way you only have to do things once. And this is just kind of something, in um, standardization that kind of drives me a little insane. It's like people, they'll just tell you that, like, well, you just really have to communicate. Like, it's really important to communicate. And it's just like, okay, well, what does that mean exactly? If communication is so important, maybe we should standardize how we are communicating and what information we are giving at what points. So, just like an example of that, I actually have a couple examples here. So yeah, we'll get a little bit more of the communication thing as we go into this. So basically, I've been working at standardizing the process of working as a DP. Um, and so, um, just like, for example, camera prep. Um, I like one of the things that I always try and do is I always make sure that the camera assistant gets the quote before we even submit it to production, just because I wanted to get their input on everything and make sure that they aren't going to add a bunch of stuff that they think that we need, um, before producers approve it, and then I have to go back to them if the assistant hasn't seen it, and then even furthermore is like I have we have a camera prep checklist, um, just so that I always know how the cameras are going to be built every single time. Um, and so it's like, yeah, it definitely does. It's a lot of work just to do all this, document all of your processes. But the benefit is that once you document all of your processes and you actually are following them as you have specified, then if you make a mistake somewhere, you could say, okay, well, where in my process did I go wrong? Okay, well, I missed this one thing, and I'm going to tweak my process slightly so that this one thing never happens again. So I'm going to show you this, and we'll go back to the other thing. So, I think that this cartoon just it really explains it so succinctly. Like you have the present state is the bottom, future state is at the top of the hill. You're trying to roll this boulder up the top of the hill, and you know, rolling the boulder up the hill, that's your improvements. And every time you get a little bit further up the hill, you just stick this wedge in there, so you make sure that you can't so the boulder can't roll back at all. So it's like, oh, okay, I noticed that I made this mistake. I'm going to change my process. So then you stick the wedge in there. You change your process, you standardize it, put it in your documents, and then you keep trying to push the boulder up the hill a little bit more. So it's just, yeah, standardization is the way to sustain the gains. I got it right. So the other thing that I've been working on for a little while is just this app, which I'm calling Project Prep Pro, and basically I just wanted to um, streamline the prep process and make sure that I was collecting the same bits of information every single time. So, just like giving myself a space for references for the project so that I can remind myself, okay, maybe I should, get some visual references to show to my gaffer, key grip, and operators, and maybe even the director too, and then a section for the location where I can select a project that has a little bit more info. Uh, hmm. I'll make this one work. So um, in this location section, um, basically like I can look at this form and it just says, okay, well, like, what's the location? Do you have any, notes about the location, dimensions, loaded info? Um, and I also give the plan is to give my gaffer and key grip and everybody access to this app so that we're all getting the information in one place. And then having, okay, is there a preferred time to shoot? Do I have images of the location? Um, is there a lighting plot or something? Um, do I want to upload images from Sunseeker so that I know when the sun sets or sun rises? And then within the scene view, um, it's just more questions basically. Okay, what color temp are you shooting the scene at? What t-stop? What shutter speed? What film speed? Knowing, and then it automatically calculates how many foot candles, and then just giving myself places to put information, and also gaffer and key grip places to put information about what scene and what equipment is needed for each scene. So it's just like it's basically just like, okay, I've standardized the information that I'm collecting for throughout prep. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, I think we'll do one more slide in this video. So another big idea within Lean is batch work versus one-piece flow. So batch work is large batches, one step at a time. So this is batch and queue. So station A, they do one step. They wait till they have 10 pieces, and then they move 10 pieces to station B, where they do another step. Move 10 pieces over here. Station C does 10 more, does another step on 10 pieces, and they're completed. One piece flow is basically complete one item start to finish. So in this one, they have multiple people doing one piece flow, but it could also just be one person. And you could also do batch work with just one person. But basically, it's like they do one step, they pass one piece to the next person, they do one step, pass one piece, they do one, they do the last step. To do batch work, it takes more time, more motion, and it also takes more space. You have to have all this space for all of these units. And you also end up with a lot more like work in progress pieces. Um, and it's just like, because you have to handle each piece, like, okay, you pick it up, you perform the step, and then you put it in the pile. And then um, you pick up another piece, you put it in the pile, and then once you have 10, then you pick all of them up, and then you move them to the next station. Whereas with one piece flow, they pick up a piece, they perform the step, and they pass it along. The next person picks it up. There's no like inventory that they're trying to manage. They're just continuing the work all the way through. So much faster. The other thing too is, batch work is a lot less versatile for changes. Can you imagine, they get 100 pieces to station B, and then they find out that station A has to, change some sort of specification. Um, well, the chance for that is over because they're all at station B, so all those pieces have to be scrapped. Um, Whereas with one piece flow, maybe they've finished 20 pieces, um, and now the specification has changed. So they're like, okay, well, let's just change starting from this first person from the next piece, and maybe we can use those completed pieces elsewhere. We can put them on another order or something like that. So to try and give you a better idea of how this relates in film, is installing LEDs. So, say you're working as a fixtures technician, um, and you have to put 25 LED strips, like in a wall, something like that. So the first method, this can be batch work. So you would solder 25 LED strips, and you would put like a wire lead on it. So then after you've done that, now you're going to strip all 25 wire leads. Then you're going to install all 25 LED strips in place. And then once you've got them in place, then you're going to wire the 25 LED strips to the dimmers. So then, one-piece flow method, this would be, you would solder one LED strip, you would strip the wire lead, you would install it in place, and you would then wire it to the dimmer. Then you would do it, that same process, 24 more times. So now it's just like, okay, you have these two scenarios, one with batch work, one with one-piece flow. So now imagine if you found an issue in the wiring phase. So, maybe when you were soldering them, maybe somebody was not as experienced as they said they were. So, a bunch of the leads that they put in were not soldered correctly, and you didn't find out till you put all 25 in. Imagine you get to this step, you're about to wire them all into the dimmers, and then your boss comes in and says, hey, we got to move all those strips, or oh, they got to all be 6 feet long instead of 8 feet long. Now you got to do all this rework to all the strips. Whereas this one, maybe you put up 4 or 5 and you're like, okay, we'll just, on the next one that we do, we'll change it. If you had limited space, you didn't have enough space to, to put all of these 25 strips and, the 25 dimmers. So the one-piece flow method obviously is a lot less space intensive. Imagine if you didn't want to be there all day. One-piece flow is definitely the way to go, and I can tell you from experience that I've tried both methods here, and this is definitely the way. It's I have to say, one-piece flow is extremely not. It's so counterintuitive, and you really have to fight against it. And I think that just whenever you're doing any sort of process or anything, you just have to ask yourself, is this batch work? Am I doing batch work right now? And if you do that, you'll find that a lot of the stuff that you do is batch work. And if you can figure out how to do that in a one-piece flow method, it's going to make the job way easier, way faster. And you know, sometimes it means that you have to kind of change how you would normally do it. You know, maybe you bring the soldering in this, you know, in this example, maybe you bring the soldering station much closer to where the LED strips are going in, so that you can have one person soldering, they hand it off to another person um, who is stripping the wire and then putting it in place, and then one person who's working on wiring it. So you know, and just you know, you may have to kind of reconfigure the process to make it work for one piece flow, but if you can manage that, it's definitely the way to go. But, all right, okay. Next, we're going to talk about mistake proofing. So, thanks for watching.